To move forward, one must look back. With this in mind, we'd like to do a two-part program assessing our goals, challenges, achievements, and the way forward by looking back at the first 2 quarters of the year 2023 at Nigerian Shippers Council. After this, we shall of course join our tidbits segment for happenings on the local and international maritime scenes. My name is Rekia Dikru Yagoyaju, and the program you're watching is The Shipper, brought to you by Nigeria's Port Economic Regulator, Nigerian Shippers Council. Do stay tuned.
Nigerian Shippers Council, they to serve you well. No matter the problem, we go solve them for you.
Yes, so the Nigerian Shippers Council, they feel in a parole now for every level. And as soon as goods, they move from port A, go enter port B with a measure within on a need. For the Nigerian Shippers Council, we don't sharp proper to fit hear you wella, work with you wella, and help you fit serve your customers them better, no matter where them day. As we country port economic regulator, the Nigerian Shippers Council get every now to fit make government consider the problem where shippers them they face. Visit we office for number 4 or to buy your daily show your daily. Papa, email us for nsc@shipperscouncil.gov.ng. We website now www.shipperscouncil.gov.ng.
For you, we dey gidigba, eh.
Nigerian Shippers Council with a meeting now for the port of Nani.
Welcome back. The shipping industry plays a key role in the global economy, and Nigerian Shippers Council, as Port Economic Regulator, naturally plays a very important part keeping things in check in Nigeria. On today's program, we'll look at achievements of the various departments in the council, with reports assessing where to, where from, and where at.
I've been in clearing since 1992, and I know development from government over the years have changed a lot of things. So the Shipper Council as a regulatory body should be able to should have a quick response to issues, and I'm meeting from stakeholders is concerned.
At first, Shippers Council, they've actually been wonderful, I have to say. In some of their implementations, they've actually been wonderful. But at the same time, we still have a whole lot of work to do. I still believe they still have to touch so many sectors.
Let's now join Lucy Nyambi as she presents our scorecards.
Nigerian Shippers Council was established by Decree 13 of 1978, now Cap 133, Laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to protect the interests of Nigerian shippers on matters relating to the shipment of goods to and from Nigeria. The agency was given an additional mandate as the nation's port economic regulator in 2015 to institute effective regulation for the control of tariffs, rates, and charges at Nigeria's ports. Regulating for users and providers of shipping services has called for an assessment of the Council's activities as the port economic regulator, taking into consideration the first 2 quarters of the year 2023. The Director, Consumer Affairs Department of Nigerian Shippers Council, Chief Kajetan Agu, spoke extensively on the department's activities and how these activities have impacted significantly on the development of the nation's ports.
The department is made up of 2 divisions. We have the Trade Services Division and the Stakeholders Division. And the Trade Services Division handles issues relating to international trade. And in line with that, precisely in January this year, the Nigerian Shippers Council hosted the 9th African Shippers Day. The African Shippers Day provided a platform for all the shippers in West and Central Africa to come together. And what was the issue they discussed? They discussed trending issue, the issue of African Continental Free Trade Area and Free Trade Agreement. You know, Africa want to trade together. You know, for you to trade, there must be connectivity. The connectivity within the African continent is on the low side, very, very low. And also, when you also look at the trading pattern, you know, we don't trade among ourselves. The level of trading within the European Union is almost 70%. For Asia countries, is more than 53%. For the Northern Americas, you know, they trade among themselves, almost up to 70%. But here in Africa, you discover that it is less than 15%. And that is the more reason why we created that platform for African shippers to discuss on how to trade among themselves. One of the identified challenges, as I told you, was the issue of connectivity. So we discussed it, and good enough, Nigeria has also taken the lead. Nigeria is equally promoting the establishment of Sea-Link. In fact, to also drive it home, Nigeria Shippers Council was responsible for the feasibility study on Sea-Link. We funded it. So these are the outcome of that event, because at the end, there was at least a recommendation that Shippers Council, the Nigerian government, and also other governments of the sub-region should fast-track the establishment of Sea-Link so that they can connect countries. You know, it's a sort of coastal shipping, you know, shipping linkage between Nigeria and Angola, between Nigeria and Ghana, between Nigeria and Senegal. Because as I'm talking to you now, if you want to export something to Senegal, that export will sell, it will sell, first of all, go to Europe. From Europe, they will now send it back to Senegal. You can imagine the cost. So that is the outcome of that meeting. That is what that meeting wants to address. And I thank God for that.
Mr. Moses Fadipe, who at the time of this review exercise was Deputy Director, Special Duties, a position he combined with the responsibility of National Coordinator of the Port Standing Task Team, PSTT, spoke about the activities of the task team in ensuring the implementation of Nigeria Port Process Manual at the ports.
Cost of doing business is going down. Extortions is being eradicated. Okay? Compliance level has gone up. People now know there's a sheriff and that there are consequences for your action. Okay? And the aggregate of all these things helps the economy. When cost rises, inflation rises. When cost goes down, inflation comes down. You understand? And even public officials, it's creating more dignity for them as a public official, because the popular thinking in the Nigerian heads, when they see a particular agency with a particular uniform, the next is not be a gunje you go take. I will give them now. So, but when you now see that particular agency in that particular outfit or uniform, and you now know it's not about a gunje, it's about compliance. It's a win-win for Nigeria as a nation. In the vessel boarding and rummaging sector, we are able to make or save for government about 6.5 billion, that's about $12.3 million in offshore sector. At the road sector, the fines being paid by people who infracted on the road to road safety covers through TSA is in millions as we speak. It's ongoing. And the issue of corruption is going down. So everybody knows that you can't just wake up and say, I want to take a tariff on the road. So it's a plus for Nigeria economy, so to speak. As this interview commences, maybe it's a good one for you to listen to the vessel captains. One is calling him now. And let's hear him. Maybe you can reflect in your distance too.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. This is Captain from Pinnacle Spirit. May I speak with Mr. Moses Fadipe, please?
Oh, Fadipe speaking, please.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Actually, my vessel is coming to Nigeria for loading at Fort Carter's terminal.
Okay.
And yesterday I had sent a message to MACN, so they told me to do the radio check with you.
Okay.
Check the communication, and I'll add this number in my WhatsApp also, so I'll send you hi from my WhatsApp also.
Okay. Communication confirmed. Number correct. Number is WhatsApp as well. Then I will reply your hi immediately.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moses. Thanks a lot.
Safe voyage. Bye.
Thank
All right, all right. So you can see what we're talking about. In the past, nobody knows who to call. Nobody will even call you. You understand? They don't even know who to call. But now, look at this captain. It's not even yet in Nigeria. It's on. Probably it's in maybe Cameroon, or maybe it's in France as he's calling. But he's calling ahead to say, "Look, I'm coming to Nigeria. I want to confirm this number. I'm coming to Focados." As he's approaching, we have an help desk, which is our post-service support portal. He's communicating, and we are replying. As he's getting to Focados, he say, "Oh, I'm at Focados." We are seeing real time because it's electronic. As officials are coming on board, oh, Porter is coming on board. So if Porter spend more than the required timeline, we are seeing it real time. He's telling us. So that Porter must explain to the tax team at the end of the day why you spend longer than the period required. And as immigration and customs are coming on board, he's communicating with us. These things are not there before. And within a space of short period of time, we can achieve this. What could be more than that for Nigeria as a nation? So the gains are enormous, and they are many.
While detailing the role of the Regulatory Services Department, Deputy Director, Monitoring and Enforcement, Mr. Adesina Sarumi, gave an insight into the division's achievements in the period under review.
We also have some kind of intervention on some agencies of the government at the port that intercept the duly cleared cargo. The cargoes that have been examined by the authorized government agencies at the port and have been certified for delivery to the consignees. But for reason best known to some agencies like Maritime Police, to a lesser extent the DSS, for reason best known to them, they usually have a way of intercepting those cargoes, either within the terminal where those cargoes are seated or on their way out of the port to the consignees' warehouses. Intervene on quite some number of them, and some of them that have genuine reason to be allowed to be taken to the consignees' warehouse. Of course, through our intervention, the police, the Maritime Police or DSS, they will release them. Probably, maybe I should say, through our successful intervention on in that area, some cost, because if you leave things to the police, of course, they don't mind delaying those containers in the cargo for as long as it pleases them. But through our timely intervention, of course, some cost must have been saved, because if the police, by error of commission or omission, will want to keep those containers for like more than a week or so, our intervention can reduce it to few days. And although we are working towards having a free passage of duly cleared containers, but for the overzealousness and other reasons of the Maritime Police, of course, but to a greater extent, we save cost.
An assistant director with the Market Analysis and Tariff Administration Division also gave an insight into his division's work on tariff reviews and dedicated freight trade reviews and their significance.
The onset of our mandate and the putting in place of what we call a guideline for tariff setting and review, we've been able to curtail that to some extent. So what we have in the sector now is an increased competitive sector, and in the process we have enhanced transparency, accountability and efficiency in the subsector.
The Deputy Director and Head of Complaints Unit, Mr. Daniel Orume, spoke on the unit's activities in handling complaints for users and providers of shipping services.
In the course of the first and second quarter, we received about 63 complaints and 19 were successfully resolved. And out of those 19 resolved, the amount saved is about 11,880,520 naira saved for the consignees. The complaints also, we find out that 35 are still ongoing, they are the process of being resolved. Most times you find out that these complaints are being resolved based on the evidences we receive. Once we see the evidences and we are able to find out areas where we see there's default, also we address them and we now resolve them amicably. There are 9 of those cases that we had to close, and just because there are lack of evidences to conclude those cases, and as such we cannot continue. So you can see that by the numbers of complaints we've received and the ones we've resolved, we've tried to save those consignees some amount of money. That money, if they had paid, will now be transferred to the cost of goods in the market, which the final consumers now will now pay for them. And you will find out that it now increased to the cost of things in the market. So these activities that we are doing by resolving these complaints is helping the economy in trying to save the cost of goods in this aspect.
President General, Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria, Prince Adewale Adeyonju, commended the Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the Council for his exemplary style of leadership. He also appreciated Nigerian Shippers Council and other members of Port Standing Task Team for restoring sanity on ports access routes.
Arbitrarily increase in tariff from stakeholders. I think Shippers Council have made us to understand that no, you cannot just adjust your tariff without not passing through due process. Awareness coming from them, telling them no, you can do it in this way. It's part of benefit that all the stakeholders are enjoying from them.
A member of Association of Nigerian Licensed Customs Agents, ANCLA, Mrs. Bola Muse, said the role of Nigerian Shippers Council cannot be overlooked in the nation's ports.
At least he was able to assist us to interfere in our issue with the terminal operators, the shipping companies, and that one alone is a big achievement to us, which I believe is going to do more for us, because when we are having a high rate charges on most of the things, and when we came in, he set up a committee to look into it, and the wedding and things was treated accordingly to make the ease of doing business possible for the freight forwarders.
Other stakeholders who spoke with the shipper called for stronger legal instruments for Nigerian Shippers Council to be able to sanction erring operators at the ports.
Well, so far I can confidently tell you that the area where we are benefiting from the activities of Nigerian Shipper Council is the activity of the port standing taxing, because prior to the coming of port standing taxing, you used to have many checkpoints on the outbound section of the port access road, Napapa and Tinka, where you see people collecting money from truckers. So with the coming of port standing taxing through the Nigerian Shipper Council, all these illegal checkpoints have been demolished. So we move our trucks from the ports on the outbound section without fear of intimidation, extortion, or harassment by any state and non-state actor.
One thing you cannot take away from Shippers Council, even from the time of Hassan Bello, is the speed of response to every query that they get. The speed of response is unprecedented. I've not seen it in any other agency in this sector. I'll give you an example. There is the man called Mr. Oshu Block. He's late now. I was discussing with him one time. He said, among all the government agencies, Shippers Council response to query cannot be overestimated. I said, why? He said they had a complaint once with one of the terminal operators. They wrote a letter to Shippers Council, submitted it in the morning. By the time he was in his car going back home, he got a call from Shippers Council asking him for details of the complaint that he made. And in less than 2-3 days, they were up in the case, to the extent that the terminal operators had to make adjustments and yield to the demands of Shippers Council. And it's not just that. Ask anybody in the sector, they will tell you the same thing. Unless you have not brought it to the attention of Shippers Council, if there's a problem, once you tell Shippers Council, if it gets to the complaints department, they act immediately.
Despite the downturn of the economy, I think the Shippers Council still remain one of the most recommendable government agencies in terms of operation now. Yeah.
As an impartial judge, wink wink, I'd like to say we have done quite well thus far. Let's now join Abike Idowu for our tidbits segment.
As part of Shippers Council's tradition of showing appreciation to its host communities for their support and cooperation, the Council recently embarked on the distribution of corporate social responsibility items to Katsina Children's Home and Kofan Maruga Maternal and Child Health Care. Donations of foodstuffs, deep freezers, pressing irons, towels, and generators were made to aid patients and the hospital. The orphanage also received support to ensure the well-being of the children. The Council's gesture was received with gratitude from both facilities' representatives. They had highlighted the significance of Shippers Council's efforts in promoting positive change. The Council reaffirmed its commitment to extending help to those in need through its CSR program. In a jubilant display of appreciation and admiration, Nigerian Shippers Council orchestrated an outstanding celebration to honor the legendary Mrs. Monica Kano, affectionately known as Mama K, on the momentous occasion of her retirement. With 35 years of service, Mrs. Kanu retired as Chief Executive Officer, Employee Relations and Welfare Services in a Human Resources Department. Colleagues, friends, and the cooperative society all joined hands in an outpouring of love and gratitude for the remarkable journey of Mama K at Shippers Council.
Mama K, Allah has blessed her with a kind of integrity in her. That self-contentment in her. As a result, she was given an award when she was in registry at the time. The second Act 2 award conducted when staff were nominated. Madam was given her award was on integrity based on her. You can give her your money here for the next 1 year, she will never touch it.
I want to inform you that the management of Nigerian Shippers Council appreciate you so much. Not only to the goals and objectives of Nigerian Shippers Council, but your individual touch in the life of your colleagues is highly recognized and noticed during your stay in Nigerian Shippers Council. In fact, it is like a footprint. The indulgence of the management to apply the spirit of well-being. Please give it back to her.
Mrs. Monica Kanu conveyed sincere appreciation to the management, expressing her delight in having enjoyed her tenure without any regrets.
I am very, very grateful for all that they have endowed me with. My mouth cannot finish expressing my gratitude towards what I see today as a gesture. I'm very, very, very grateful. And I'm very delighted.
We encourage all stakeholders in the maritime sector to visit our website www.shipperscouncil.gov.ng for comprehensive information about our services and to report any grievances they may have. It's time to take a look at our complaint register for the week of 23rd to 29th July 2023. We received a total of 6 complaints which are currently under investigation. The complaints include waiver, illegal charges, demurrage, stolen container, groupage charges, and lien on container. Now, let's set sail for the world of global shipping. Singapore-based offshore wind farm vessel operator Nsc'S Renewables has acquired its first service operation vessel SOV from Belgium's Deme Group. The 60-meter swat-hole SOV named Wind is the world's first twin-hulled DP2 advanced dynamic positioning SOV. It is under a 17-year long-term contract to service offshore wind farms in Belgium and is directly chartered to Siemens Gamesa for maintenance work. Nsc'S aims to operate a $1 billion fleet in Asia and Europe over the next 3 years, focusing on meeting the growing demand for offshore wind vessels in the region. United States President Joe Biden has announced that Admiral Lisa Franchetti will become the first female Chief of Naval Operations in the nation's history. Currently the Vice Chief of Naval Operations, she has a distinguished 38-year career in various important positions. Her appointment is a significant milestone for gender representation in the military. And that's it on Tidbits for this week. Till next time.
The Nigerian Shippers Council is now better poised with responsive systems in place to help you and other shippers get seamless, stress-free transition for your clients' goods from point A to B. Today at the Nigerian Shippers Council, timeliness, orderliness, transparency and efficiency is all we care about. Put your complaint through to our helpline. Visit us at number 4 Ayodele Shoyode Lane, Apapa, Lagos, or reach us on www.shipperscouncil.gov.ng.
Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the point of your need.
Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the port of your needs.
Progress is gradual and it comes with planning, effort and assessment. On this note, we thank you for being a part of our program and invite you on another voyage next week for the concluding segment of this assessment. Thanks once more and have a swimmingly great week ahead.